guys, we are back. Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon. As always, it is so great to see you. Friends, a few weeks ago, I headed up to Big Bear with my family and decided to have a little fun with my Jeep off-road in search of the perfect sledding spot for my 5-year-old son. Now guys, this turned out to be a complete utter nightmare. And let's be clear, it wasn't because of something that I did or didn't do, guys. I was prepared for whatever this trail was going to throw at me. Guys, others on the trail were not. Now, in today's video, I'm going to tell you all about my adventures, and I'm also going to outline some tools that I use to ensure that I'm prepared for whatever the trail might throw at me. Now, we're going to get to all that in just a minute, but first, hey, I want to welcome you to the channel. If this is your first time visiting, friend, thank you for dropping by. And if you're returning, man, you deserve a high five. It's great to see you again. Take a moment, hit that subscribe button down below while you're here. We've got a ton of new content coming around the corner, and we have some giveaways that we're going to be kicking off here pretty soon as well. So being a subscriber means, hell, you're not going to miss any of that. Now with that said, pull up seated, let's go. Actually, let's do this. I have some errands I have to run, so 2 birds, 1 stone. I'm going to pick this up in the vehicle. Let's go. All right, so let me get you up to speed on where we're at. So it's Thursday. We decided to head up to Big Bear a day early because they're supposed to get a pretty serious snowstorm up there, estimated between 1 foot and 2 feet of snow. So it's a pretty nasty drive up there to begin with, so getting ahead of that snow will save hours on commute time. So we scooted up there Thursday night. The plan was Friday we're going to go sledding, and Saturday we're going to go snowboarding, and Sunday we'll try to squeeze in some additional more sledding. This Big Bear gets hammered with a ton of snow. There's probably about a good 2 feet of snow there on Friday. So we have our fun on Friday. Saturday morning comes along. We get up to Big Bear Mountain. It's the little guy's first time to be snowboarding, so we're super excited to be able to watch him. We got him into lessons at 1 p.m. So long story cut short, I dropped my wife and my son off up at the top of the mountain, and the famous last words were, "I'm going to go get parking." Now they have immediate parking on the top, which turns out was full. They're routing everybody about a mile down the road. I go down there, and after waiting about a half hour, I finally get up to the point where I get to get into the parking line, and the police officer is, "Hey, this is full. You got to go that way." And he hands me some directions, and it's about 4 miles away, something like that. So I start trekking down there, and I'm waiting. I get to a point where I'm probably about a mile away from where the parking is. I'm waiting. I'm waiting there, guys. No joke. A good 45 minutes. I've maybe moved about 100 feet, if even that. So I'm thinking out of the box, like, hey, you know, I'm going to drop the vehicle off over at the condo that we rented, and I'll just Uber in. Hell, I've never had any problems getting Uber. So I go tell my wife that I'm heading back to the place, drop the vehicle off, and I get there, access Uber. Now guys, mind you, I've been in Norway, Turkey, some remote locations on this planet. I've never, ever been not able to get a Uber car. Nothing available. Try the cheap, the middle, the expensive, nothing available for about 30 minutes. Finally, I'm like, this is not working. So I decided, okay, I'll go grit my teeth and go wait in that line for the parking lot. Get down there. After waiting about 45 minutes, a police officer is walking down the road, and he's letting people know, just giving you a heads up on the wait time. He comes up to me, he's like, yeah, just to get to the parking lot, you're about 1 hour and 15 minutes. Guys, 1 hour and 15 minutes, and then just to get to the parking lot, let alone finding a parking spot. So that, let's say best case scenario, I get a shuttle. I'm able to get a shuttle up to the mountain. That's half hour, 40 minutes or so. My wife told me that just to get our gear rental stuff, it took them nearly an hour to get everything. So between that, not a joke, I did some simple math on this. by the time I were to get up to the mountain, I would have 15 to maybe 30 minutes max before they shut the mountain down at 4 p.m. So I told my wife, okay, this is not going to work for me here. And I was disappointed because I wanted to see my son snowboard and go through his lessons. But it just, there's no way I could get up there. So I figured best use of my time was, hey, let's find out where some cool sledding spots are. And so the police officer reconfirmed the spot that we had tried the day before, but somebody was blocking it. And so he's like, yeah, you know, there's a spot up near the Big Bear Dump. There are Hidden Meadows or something or another back there. And he's like, yeah, it's called Hidden Meadows. Again, I can't remember the name of it, but it's something with meadows. He's like, it's called that for a reason, because there's a lot of really meadows back there. There's a lot of good spots to go sledding, but you need a 4-wheel drive. I'm like, got it covered. And so I told my wife that's what I was going to do. I was going to go back up and do a little recon. So guys, I go up there. It's a beautiful day. Mind you, blue skies, fresh powder up on the road. I'm about 1.5 miles deep into this trail, this 2-lane trail. And so to put things in perspective here, guys, one side of the trail is a mountain. You can't really do much on it. And the other side is these kind of sketchy cliffs, drop-offs. And every once in a while, there's a spot where there's a little turnout, because otherwise you could only fit one vehicle going one direction. And they have these like random turnouts, and they're really tight to begin with. So I'm driving down there and I'm having a good old time. Now I have my tires aired down to 14 pounds each, and I also have chains mounted on the back tires. And I'm on 35s, and I'm bottoming out as I'm going down there, but I have a lot of weight and just a lot of traction working for me in my favor. So no troubles. I come around this turn, and there's a truck parked in the middle of the road. And I beeped the horn, and I swear I thought the guy was asleep. And I beeped it again, and he finally showed some sort of side of life, and he like motioned for me to look forward. I get out of my vehicle and I walk in front of him, and guys, I see probably 11, 14 off-road vehicles just sitting there outside smoking and joking, eating lunch. And I go walking up there, and they're like, ah! And so to find out what happened was, right in front of them, there was a Subaru that was coming the opposite direction that was stuck. And there's a whole convoy of people behind him, and they were trying to get the guy undone. And so they had been there since 10 a.m. that morning. I'm like, oh damn, and I'm laughing to myself, how in the hell did that Subaru make it back? That's testament to Subaru. And so anyways, and then the light bulb hit me like, oh dang, if somebody gets behind me, I'm stuck on this mountain. When it registered in my head that they'd been up there since 10 a.m. Now, mind you, it's almost 2 o'clock at this point. So I had this like, oh man, I better haul ass back to my vehicle. And as much as I don't want to reverse down this mountain, I'm going to do that before somebody gets behind me. So I run 500 yards. Guys, I'm not joking. I'm hauling ass over to where my truck is at. And you can't make this up, guys. There's a stinking another Subaru that is now stuck behind my truck, and there's a Toyota 4Runner with street tires that he's stuck as well. Neither of these vehicles had chains. Neither of these vehicles had any sort of... Honestly, I'm surprised that the Subaru was back there, just like the other one there. Anyways, I'm like, ah, damn. And so now my thinking goes into, I need to start planning, making some quick decisions, because the only key to the condo that we rented is in my pocket. The only vehicle we had up there, I'm in it. And earlier, I couldn't even hail a Uber, Lyft, taxi for myself. So I have roughly 2 hours to get off this mountain or figure out transportation for my wife and son, let alone I need to call the management company where we rented the condo and see if they have a spare key that they can drop over there. The spare key was the easier part. They were able to get that over there. In the meantime, guys, I couldn't get a hold of anybody. It got to the point where I was even offering the management company $100 to go pick up my wife and son to give them a safe drive back to the resort at 4 p.m. And finally, I got a hold of Uber, and incidentally, they ended up double charging me. I got charged over $200 for that Uber drive. And I also had a car service. At this point, I don't care who got there first, as long as somebody went there and picked up my wife and my 5-year-old son and got them back safely. And so, anyway, while up there and juggling all these calls and trying to organize this, we're shoveling, pushing, because as soon as you move one car, one car was stuck right behind it, and all the winches, all the capable vehicles were pointed in the wrong direction. There was a guy up there with a 2000 Toyota with 40-inch wheels, chains in front, winch. Peter, the guy was an absolute rock star. And we were able to kind of shuffle things around, and he was able to put his winch onto the Subaru and the Toyota there. 2 of the vehicles almost went off the edge while up there. One happened to be a Gladiator that came in further behind me, and it was a new Gladiator with stock wheels, again, not aired down, but this is the part that makes it really dangerous. These are situations where people don't think. They put others in that might have been okay, but now they're doing things that are a little bit out of their comfort zone. So this guy was backing down, and the vehicle started sliding. This Gladiator started to slide towards the edge, and one wheel actually went over the edge, and that was one of the gnarliest things that I had ever witnessed. It was, seeing it happen right in front, and then the guy's look of sheer shock on his face was definitely a wake-up call. So he parked it. We're like, stop. And another vehicle came up and winched him out of it. But boy, guys, it was a 7-hour ordeal on this mountain here. And between shoveling, pushing, and what ended up happening, there was a few more vehicles that got behind, and there was a guy up there with an older Jeep that claimed to be a local and knew what he was doing, and his tires were bald, but he kept going back and forth and making the trail into this mush. But anyways, that was not a lot of fun. So back on to the lesson. All right, now that we're back here, guys, obviously some of the folks I just talked about were totally unprepared, which is a shame because they got themselves into situations that were completely avoidable. So this begs the question, what do you need to be prepared? All right, first, know what your vehicle limitations are. If you're headed out on a rutted trail with a foot or 2 of snow on the ground, your Subaru Impreza with a 3-inch ground clearance, I hate to tell you, it might not be the right vehicle for the job. Don't make your vehicle do something that it cannot do. Second, have the proper gear for where you're going. Guys, this isn't rocket science. Have a tow strap, have a jack, have a winch. Hell, if you don't want to deal with the high cost of a winch and bumper and all that other stuff, get yourself a come along and a chain. That is a makeshift cheap winch. Be sure you have a shovel, food, water as well. Now, personally, I recommend having some sort of backup communication. In my trunk, not only do I have the Wii Boost, which is going to amplify the cell signal, but I also have a CB in there as well. In addition to that, I have a Garmin InReach, so that's a satellite communicator as well when I get really far off grid. And really, all of this comes in handy in the event that you get out of cell service, or if your phone dies. Now, some of you might prefer to opt for a satellite phone, which is a great option. Just get ready, it's pretty expensive, but either way, have some sort of secondary communication in place when you're heading off grid. Additionally, all those folks that got stuck on the snowy trail should have had tire chains, traction boards, and I get it. Max Tracks, okay, they're expensive. What is it, like $400, almost $500 for just simply 2 of them? But as much as I don't endorse, Amazon has a ton on them for $40, $60, $80. I mean, cheap traction boards are better than not having anything on you. And here's the thing that I'm just absolutely baffled about. The people that were continuously getting stuck out there with their street tires and so forth, guys, none of these people had their tires aired down. Man, air down. If you don't have chains, you don't have the proper tires, at least air down. That's going to give you more tread, some sort of tread or more grip onto the actual ground itself. Third, have the right clothing. Bear in mind that the weather could change at an instant. This is no joke. There was a guy that was out there on the snowy trail that was wearing shorts. Yeah, no joke, guys. He was wearing shorts. That's just asking for trouble. If you got stuck out there for hours on end, or worse, days on end, you need to have the appropriate gear to keep your ass warm and dry. Now, in addition to all the tools that I just mentioned, there are some housekeeping things that you need to do before you leave. First, tell somebody where you're going, the route you're going to be taking, when you're leaving, and when you're expected back. This ensures that if you don't return as planned, somebody knows when to alert the authorities. Also, talk to locals before heading out to the trail. People that live in the area often know things that you can't find on a map or on the internet. It's a simple task, but one that can get you the type of recon that you need in making a trip much more successful. Now, when you plan an overlanding or off-roading adventure, plan it with a buddy. So if you get stuck or your rig breaks down, having a friend in another vehicle is going to save your ass. Using the buddy system is even more important if your vehicle isn't fully equipped. So, for example, if you have a capable off-roader but you don't have a winch or a come-along, hitting the trail with someone that does can make a difference between a successful completing the trip and sitting on a trail unable to go anywhere. Now, here's one more that a lot of people overlook. I'm going to suggest checking the traffic reports before you go heading out of town for a quick off-road session. Here in California, man, a 2-hour drive can easily end up into a 5-hour drive. What you're watching on the screen right here is as we were coming down Big Bear that Sunday, there's a stretch of road that's about 36 miles long, and this is where you have all these hairpin turns and so forth. Friend, not a joke, probably 14, 17 miles of that entire stretch. It was back to back, bumper to bumper, cars all the way up, and they were not moving that fast. I'd be willing to bet some of the people in the back, if they made it up in a mountain, that was probably going to be a 6 to 7 hour delay. So be sure that you leave plenty of time to ensure that you can get up to the mountains and do your thing and get home at a reasonable hour. And of course, you need to approach overlanding and off-roading with the knowledge that your actions on the trail could put other people in danger. Now, as I mentioned earlier, while I was on the mountain, I witnessed 2 vehicles almost going over the edge of the trail. One was a new Gladiator, all because of another driver's inability to plan properly for what they were getting themselves into. The Gladiator was backing up, just lost traction, started sliding towards the edge. One wheel went over. I told the story a little bit earlier. Man, not cool stuff. So bottom line is this: it's your job to make sure that you have all the tools that you need in your vehicle for rescue and recovery of your rig. It's also your job to know the limits of your vehicle. Some of the folks I talked about earlier that were stuck were saved only because of the grace of complete strangers that were well prepared. Guys, don't be that guy that heads out in the wilderness completely unprepared, then becomes a tragic story when you get stuck and die alone in the woods. That is not a fun way to go. All right, guys, I hope these tips that I've discussed here are going to be helpful for you in preparing for your off-road adventure. And I know some of the salty veterans are watching this and like, yeah, you guys know better than that. But the people that have not been in these situations, I hope these tips are going to kind of add some clarity, give you some thought, something to really think about before you go heading out there. Again, know your vehicle's limits, have the proper gear, and it's going to ensure better safety for you, others around you, and a more enjoyable experience. What tools do you always have with you when you're on the trail? Let me know in the comments below. All right, guys, that's all I have there for you today. Now it's the time of the video where I'm going to ask you to do all that YouTube stuff. So if you found some entertainment, if this video was helpful for you, do me a favor, hit that like button down below. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, as I mentioned earlier, why not? We'd love to have you part of the family. And while you're at it, hit that bell to be notified each time that we come out with a new video. My friends, I'm going to be jumping out of here, so you get out there, stay healthy, and create or find your adventure.